Okay, so it's one I'm going to do on authority, because obviously it's quite pertinent that people understand what the actual meaning of it is and how it relates to everything we've gone through for thousands of years and what's coming to a crescendo right now. And also a pathway back to where your power lies. So let me read it out. Authority comes from the invention of jurisdiction, derived from the Latin noun jus, juris meaning law, and the Latin verb dictere, to speak, to say. Thus, jurisdiction literally means to say what the law is. And just let that one land for a moment. When people claim jurisdiction, it's all about what's coming out of their mouths. And you have to think about how the police, the ones who use force to gain authority over you, how do they do it? They ask you for your name, your date of birth, and where you live. And that's how they get that authority. So it's all through spoken. The word jurisdiction creates the idea that there are superior and inferior beings, where the superior possess divine knowledge, the inferior do not. Hence, the superior have the right to behave like gods and say what is law and what is not. And because the superior speak laws, the inferior are under the spoken control of the superior. Okay, so I'm hoping that's starting to land for you guys to see how this whole structure works, and it's all done with the trick of the mind. So let's get into the next slide. Let's just bring that up, and hopefully this is coming up. And let me just get rid of this other slide. All right, so just remember what I said about the authority. So this is the illusion of government. This is how this whole criminal structure has been running for centuries. Government is based on the illusory and false concept. So illusory comes from the word illusion, called authority. Authority is the belief in certain people having rights to exert control over other people's lives, such as the right to compel, command, coerce, and constrain against their will. The collective of people with special rights has become what we've come to know as government. So let's hope that starts to sort of sink in a little bit deeper for you. Now I'm going to bring in this slide about statism. I've used it in other videos where I can really see how pertinent it is in this one. Just want to get rid of the last slide before I start. Here we go. Statism, the brilliant idea that we give a small group of people, now remember what I just said, the self-elected ones, because they make it look like we've elected them, but it actually never happens. The right to abduct, imprison, harass, dispossess, and kill people, so we can be protected from people who abduct, harass, dispossess, and kill people. So there you have it, guys. You got to think about how they've constructed that one. Yeah, they make you live in fear, so then you accept their authority, their spoken law. All right, let me pause for a moment. So let's have a look how crime really happens, shall we? Not the way we've been sold why crime exists. It's the actual inversion. It's because we don't have trial by jury. So without exception, history shows that all societies bereft of common law trial by jury tend inexorably into crime, inequality, strife, injustice, misery, and despotism. Now you think about how the wealth gap in this country and pretty much across the globe has been, escalating from year by year, right? Just getting worse and worse. Like this, it's pretty much undeniable. I don't know anyone who could actually say that doesn't exist. Well, that wasn't an accident. It's because we don't have control over the very mechanisms that we created to serve us. They have gained control over us. And the common law trial by jury, which was only enshrined in one ever constitution, because there only is ever one constitution, it's been hidden from us. And that's why all these other things have happened. So have a look at the despotism and the misery we're living today. How many people are living in vans or caravans now? I mean, I don't want to go into too much detail about that, but I reckon you guys will get the picture pretty quick. So let's get more into authority so you can just get a bit deeper understanding about how it's used against us and how we make sure that we never claim our own authority. So the illusion of a diseased mind. based entirely on violence. Now that word violence, right? Most people just see it as like physical violence. It's way deeper than that. It's to violate one's integrity. So that can be done through language. Yeah, that's a really big way, because what language does is it restricts one's consciousness, and it gets people believing in things that are actually not true, that can't be discovered in nature. Right. So that's to violate your consciousness through language. It's obviously emotional violence. That's pretty extreme as well, because unless you're violated emotionally, you will very, ever rarely violate someone physically. And spiritual violence, of course, you know, you put the two together, mental and emotional violence, you've got spiritual violence, right? And that's where it lasts forever and it doesn't go away. And that's the system that we live on of authority. It does that on purpose. And then it gets you to believe that you're defective because you're having an issue with being violated. And built upon the erroneous and dogmatic belief, Belief, like Goliath, Belief, that some people are masters who possess divine right to issue commands, and others are slaves, they would be the inferior class, who have divine duty and obligation to obey the masters. That's pretty much everything we've been running since, I don't know, I've been alive for sure, and I'm willing to bet well before I was here. I'd like to see anyone challenge on that one. So if anyone's got a challenge to put up with that, please come forward and let me hear the way you interpret it. And let's see how it stands up. Another one, authority. The belief in the legitimacy of authority is the belief in the legitimacy and advocation of slavery. Because if you believe there's an external authority outside of yourself, you are basically just said that I'm a slave. It's really no other way to put it. Ultimately, authority is the idea that man can become God and through jurisdiction dictate the law. So you want to look at all this Klaus Schwab stuff, you know, that keeps circulating, you know, look at the way he speaks. Right? It just fits this one, doesn't it? He's just above it. And he knows exactly what's good for everyone else because he's a God. So that's what authority does. When you get into that place where you believe you have authority over others, that's the part where your mind is diseased. It's in dis-ease. So now I want to talk about a different kind of authority that is discoverable. So these other ones that I've spoken about and showed you slides over, they are not actually discoverable. This one actually is. So let me just pull these slides away, the old ones, so I can get into this one. All right. The authority of truth. So truth is something that is universal to all of us. So we get a choice, right? The acceptance of truth does not require deceit through rhetoric. Politics does. Overt and covert punishment. Politics does. Passive and aggressive coercion, aka reward. Politics does. Perpetual repetition of control language. Politics again. Threats of confinement and use of deadly or lethal force. All politics. But guess what does? Compliance and obedience do. So you think about when something's true, no one needs to convince you of it. It just lands because it's universal and it's discoverable. All right, let's go to the next one on truth. Just get rid of this other one and then I can read it. Authority of truth again. So truth's authority lies in the choice of acceptance or denial. It leaves each and every one of us. Acceptance of truth opens one up to the awareness of the consequences to all expressions of life, right? Because that's what we are. We are just one mere expression of the variety of life expressions there are, of all expressions of life for one's choices. Denial shuts down awareness of how that choice effectively contributes, actively contributes. So what we manifest in reality. So if you deny the fact that you have a choice to accept truth, you are denying the fact that you are actively contributing to the conditions that trigger violence. Now, a moment ago, I explained what violence is. It's not just physical violence. And chaos, otherwise known as slavery. So before you can be so for you to be a slave, you need to engage in these activities, violence and chaos, right? Because through violence, you get chaos. There's no order. And that's, you know, if you take a proper look, what we believe is order is not. It's hidden violence and chaos, masked to look like order. The structures that we live under. Slavery does not exist in nature. Never has, never will. That's why the conditions that create slavery must be manufactured, not can must. And that's what's happened, right? So they've been manufacturing the conditions of slavery by getting us to believe certain ideas as truths, because they can't be discovered, these beliefs. So they're not actually knowledge and they're not truth. So, but they get us to believe and we hold them as our truths, right? Now I want to show you the actual mechanism by which we, the people, have in our power, we just don't know about it, to actually be our own authority. Trial by jury, judicium parum, so that's Latin for trial by jury, is the sole peaceful means known to humankind by which the rights of the weakest innocent citizen prevail over a massive and potentially oppressive state power. I'm going to read that again. Trial by jury is the sole peaceful means known to humankind by which the rights of the weakest innocent citizen prevail over a massive and potentially oppressive state power. So I'm just going to let that land with you guys. I don't want to actually get into the detail of what that means because I really want to see how that lands and what you guys will do with that info. So that's all I'm going to do on this one.